everybody, and welcome to Bits of Board, where we're talking board games, miniatures, cards, and dice. My name's Michael, and today we continue on our journey through Middara's Crawl campaign. We're doing the Rank 2 Lost Stone one, and it's a blast so far, but I'm pretty sure this is going to be the very last part of the scenario. Very exciting. All this time, our adventurers have been searching for the Lost Stone. What does this mean for us? So far, it's meant all-out adventure, encountering new foes. Now, I don't need to say anything about this if you've been watching along, but if you haven't been, make sure you go check out the Rank 1 stuff and the beginning of the Rank 2 so you know where we're all at now. But yeah, that's about it. Of course, you'd know that the Middara campaign is in full swing right now, having hit about $2 million pretty recently. That is insane. There'll be a link floating around here somewhere, but make sure you go check that out if you're into this game, because this is going to be the best and possibly the only way you can pick it up nowadays. Alright, that's my bit done. Let's get into the playthrough. Alright guys and gals, we have a whopping 180 gold to play around with here. Yes, it's amazing. So we're going to start things off by... well, I mean, look at Remy's health. It's pretty abysmal for the moment. So we're going to get her a vitality juice box to start. That's certainly going to help. And a little something to help prevent damage throughout the game. A cloak. A couple of simple little bits of equipment to help her through. On top of that, we're actually going to spend some of her XP. We saved some last episode. So she's sitting on 9 right now. And it is time, guys and gals, to get her the summoning ability. This is a fantastic ability which you will see in action very soon. It usually costs us 7 XP, but because we've already got a level 2 ability floating around in her pool, it's actually going to cost us 8. That's okay, we can afford it, leaving her with 1 XP remaining. Next up, we have Rook. Just a couple of purchases for him today. We're spending $10 on this phase token, which should be pretty fun. We can discard this to warp to any location within our sphere of influence. That's pretty cool. And then we also have the Bauble of Opulence, which upgrades our conviction dice and gives us a flip ability, allowing us to kind of reflect damage on an opponent that deals damage to us. So it's very, very cool. Now, he's got 5 XP currently, but this should actually be 3 because I miscalculated when we were purchasing his skills at the moment. And as such, he doesn't have enough to buy any more, but that's okay. I think Rook is in a good spot as is. Next up, we've got Nightingale. Couple of things. Firstly, we're going to get her a quiver that can store some of her arrows that she's going to be utilizing. It's not really going to be useful to us this scenario, but assuming we carry on our team's spells and abilities into the next rank, it may well save us a bit of heartbreak. We're also getting her a cloak as well to help with a bit of survivability, dodging, and providing a bonus during our conviction checks. No new skills for her. She's only sitting on 3 XP, which means she's going to have to grow a little bit before she can upgrade. Finally, we've got Zeke, of course, sitting on 0 damage at the moment. He has been the king of keeping out of combat, but still very useful for us nonetheless. We're going to get him the Hangover Elixir for 10 gold. This allows him to use one of his abilities that costs a 3 SP or less for free, which means essentially a free organic liquefy when we need it. Very cool indeed. Now, he is absolutely topping the XP charts with a total of 12, so we can bump him up into level 3 territory. And there are 2 Krua abilities that I'm really liking the look of here. The first is an Aura of Hate, which gives Zeke a passive. The first time each opponent moves within your sphere of influence during an encounter, they are dealt 3 magic damage. So that's 3 damage right off the bat across every enemy, assuming he's in the area. So that's pretty cool. And then we also have Sinful Privilege, an exhaust ability that allows us to, during an attack, convert all damage that is dealt into magic damage instead of physical damage. Really useful against armored opponents. I don't really know which way we want to go here. Both would be very useful. I'm thinking Aura of Hate. So this is going to cost us 10 of our 12 XP, and now we are ready to get into it. Oh, almost. We've still got 61 gold to play with. So I was thinking, let's hand out some of these mundane upgrades. 15 gold apiece, we can afford 4. We'll give 1 to Rook for his hammer, 1 to Remy for her oversized club, 1 to Nightingale for her crossbow, and I was thinking 1 more for Zeke but I'm thinking we'll leave him to his magic ways. This second one we could give to any of our adventurers. Personally, I'm thinking Nightingale for her ranged abilities. Alright, that said, let's set up for our next encounter, a watery exit. You find an underground river. Hoping it will lead you out of the cave, you follow it. It does eventually lead you to an exit, though it's hardly ideal. The water rushes downstream until it careens out of the cave into the canyon below. The waterfall is very high, but the water may be deep enough that a jump would be survivable. Across from you, two earth lower rumble to life and threaten your passage. To the south, two water lowers stare in your direction. You can see a box in the river. It floats downstream toward the waterfall ahead. You also spot a small wrapped object sitting safely on an outcropping of land in the middle of the river. By some turn of good fortune, this is the lost gem you are sent to retrieve. All that is left is to grab it and escape intact. Alright, having a look at the map down here, there are a couple of things we got to note. Firstly, the current in any water section. As you can see here, the current in the top section pushes down into the lower two tiles, which moves from right to left, meaning our characters are going to be pushed downstream every turn. In fact, with the special encounter rules here, our characters will be pushed 2 spaces, not 1. The other thing to note is that there is an elevation difference between the right 2 sets of tiles and the left set. And this is greatly going to affect things like line of sight to those lower sections of tiles. Now, a difference from elevation 1 to elevation 4 would usually mean defeat if our characters fall down that way. But we've got some good news. If we drop from that height and we actually land in water, well, we are not defeated. So there is a safe way down. Or safe-ish. Alrighty, so here is our map all set up in all of its glory. All that's left is for us to place our initiative cards. So I've got our 4 hero cards here, and I've got the water lower and the earth lower initiative track cards. I'm going to give them a shuffle up, and then I'm going to deal them out. You reckon that's shuffled? I reckon that's shuffled. Let's go. Beginning with the water lower, moving into Zeke's activation, Rook's activation, Nightingale, Earth Lower, and finally Remy. Everything dealt out, let's get into it. Beginning, of course, with the water lower activation. Here we have our water lower at the very base of the map. Firstly, any figures within sphere of influence with an effect? Nope. No one's adjacent. There's no one in their sphere of influence without an effect. Can it move and attack an opponent at range of 6? Ooh, I think so. Let's take a look at water lower number 1. They could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So if we pop her there, let's check that distance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's actually going to be out of range, so not going to move. Water lower 2, I think, is going to have a much better chance. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In fact, I think that'll do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in range of both Nightingale and Remy. Now the water lower, when it attacks the nearest opponent. In this case, it's going to be Nightingale. So let's see how this goes. Rolling 2 purple dice for this attack. Is that enough to surpass Nightingale's defense? It is. Now the books here would increase the roll by 2 for this attack, so this would actually deal 2 points of damage, but I don't really want Nightingale to suffer any damage right now, so she's going to use her forebode ability. Exhausting that, we are going to reroll purple over here. Not the best result, we still rolled pretty high. This roll goes up to 10 thanks to those books. The attack deals 1 point of damage. Now, usually at the end of an activation, a figure who ends their turn in a water space that has a current will move. But as you probably guessed, the water lower have an ability called H2O that prevents them from being affected by any water terrain, so they're not going to be moving anywhere. Now, I forgot here, but the current actually also affects loot tokens that are placed in the water, and these are resolved at the beginning of every round. So this red loot token here will actually move down every time we come back to the beginning of the track. So I just got to keep on top of that. But yeah, that's the end of the water lower's activation. With the water lower done, we move into Zeke's activation. We begin by giving him 3 points of stamina to play with. Now, Zeke's not in the greatest position here, but we are going to go straight onto the offensive. We'll start by going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right up to the water's edge. Here, you'll notice that water lower number 2 is within Zeke's sphere of influence, which means it suffers 3 damage straight away thanks to his aura of hate. From here, we're going to discard the Hangover Elixir, which is going to give us a free cast of Organic Liquefy. Usually we're just rolling the orange dice for our spell roll, but thanks to our Sea Witch fetish, we're going to be able to empower this spell automatically, and we get +1 to the roll thanks to the Wand of the Depths here. So orange and black, and we roll pretty dang well. The 7 plus the spell value gives us 13, plus we have 2 books sitting on the black dice, increasing our value to 15. Try beating that water lower. Okay, now I'm not saying they haven't got a good chance. They're going to be rolling teal and white here. Let's see how we go. 7 and 5 is 12. Not enough to resist the spell. So Organic Liquefy goes off. Deal magic damage equal to the number rolled using the target's 2 best conviction dice. 7 and 5 is 12. That's enough to take it out, even without the 3 damage dealt here. Awesome stuff. That is why we love Zeke. Now this marks his first proper kill, so we get him a combatant loot card, 5 gold, not too shabby, and we end his activation right there. We move into Rook's activation. We're going to give him 3 stamina to play with, and I'm thinking we need to get into it. Now while the Earth Lower are particularly dangerous to us, they are a little bit far away for the time being. So I'm thinking we kite these guys while we deal with those pesky water lower and potentially grab some loot out of it. So instead of going on the attack over here, we're instead going to get moving down here. Rook's got a grand total of 8 movement points to spend, and I'm going to try and get as close to that red loot token as I possibly can. We'll begin by spending 1 point of stamina to gain 8 points of movement. We'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. But I don't really want to end my turn here because I'll be in the sphere of influence of the water lower. Those things tend to be pretty dangerous to Rook. So I'm thinking we will spend some more stamina to sprint. We'll spend our final 2 points of stamina, gaining 4 points of movement. We'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. Remembering, of course, that Rook has the aspect ability that allows him to ignore negative terrain effects. So we run to the edge of the board, we end our turn here, and Rook moves 1, 2 places down because of the current. Rook's done, so we move into Nightingale's activation. 3 points of stamina, and I'm thinking we get things underway here. Unfortunately for us, the Earth Lower are out of range for a quick sneaky attack, so we'll continue with the plan, just spending 1 point of her stamina and moving south towards the treasure. 7 points of movement, we'll go 1, oh, wrong character, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm thinking we'll leave it there to figure out the board state as the game continues. With Nightingale's activation done, we move into the Earth Lower's turn. Now we've seen these guys before, so they're pretty tricky. First up, we need to check if there is an ally within Sphere of Influence who does not have a barrier. Beginning with Earth Lower 1, he sees Earth Lower number 2 and gives him a barrier. Now barrier is super annoying because it grants +1 armor to the target, which means that Earth Lower number 2 has not 5, but 6 armor. Ouch. Good news for the Earth Lower, bad news for us. That is not the end of their activation because they continue down. The next thing they do is check to see if there is more than one opponent adjacent. In this case, no. Finally, they're going to attempt to move and attack an opponent at reach 2. This is where it's going to get hairy, guys and gals. These guys have 4 points of movement. So Earth Lower number 1 would go 1, 2, 3, 4. And yep, he is within range for an attack. Now, Earth Lower can hit pretty dang hard, so Remy is going to exhaust her hoodie of deflection so she can get a dodge in here. We roll the black dice, she rolls 2 shields and gains 2 extra points of defense, up to 11. The Earth Lower rolls 2 teal dice, and we get a 9, which means the dodge is successful. And if you've been following along with the campaign, one of my favorite things in the world happens. We unexhaust the hoodie of destruction, and we get a free counterattack. Remy's oversized club is going to need reach 2, so we exhaust that sucker, and we are rolling teal and black dice here. Now, against a defense of 8, we've certainly made the hit, scoring a 10. The catch here is that this Earthlower currently has 5 points of armor, which means we'd need to roll extremely well to make this work. Currently, we've not done too well, so I'm going to use our exhaust ability on Hammerhelm to re-roll one of our combat dice. And this 4 here looks like it needs a bit of help. Oh, and it's still a 4. That's a shame. We get an extra 2 damage thanks to the shield, an extra 1 thanks to Hammerhelm here. Every single point of damage we scored here gets wiped away by the lower's armor. No good. Earthlower 2 activates, boosting Earthlower number 1's armor, and then does the exact same thing. Moves in 1, 2, 3, 4, and unfortunately for us, he is within range. Remy re-exhausts the Hoodie of Deflection to gain a little bonus to her defense. We roll the black dice, and we get no extra points here. The Earthlower rolls, and miraculously it misses. We unexhaust the Hoodie of Deflection, and we get a counter, which is great, except that I believe we'd need to re-exhaust this card to gain its Reach 2 ability, so we don't get to actually fight back here, but at least we're not dead. The Earthlower's activation is finished, and we move into Remy's turn. We're going to get her 3 points of stamina, and we're going to get the hell out of here. We're going to spend 2 points of stamina to begin our flight, and then we're going to tack another stamina onto it to increase our movement range. We're going to fly down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6, 7, 8, and 9. And from here, we're going to be washed 2 spaces down. Well, we're pretty close to the edge of the water here. The good news is Remy is out of reach of those damn Earthlower and out of sight of the Waterlower. Hopefully this is going to keep her safe for the other round, but just to make sure we're not completely throttled by the beginning of the next round, we're going to consume our Vitality Juice Box, healing up 3 health. That said, Remy's activation is over, and we come back to the beginning of the initiative track. The red loot drifts along the current, and then we're into the Waterlower activation. First up, there's no one with an effect nearby. There's no opponents adjacent. Does it have anyone within its sphere of influence for an attack? 1, 2, 3, 4. No, it doesn't, because line of sight is blocked by the impassable terrain there. So our last little check is, can it move and attack an opponent within range of 6? And yes, it can. It's going to be targeting the nearest opponent, which is Rook. So it's going to go 1, 2, 3, and 4. And it attacks. Rook exhausts his defense core to dodge. And we roll the black dice. Although I don't think we're going to need it, that bumps us up to 12. The Waterlower rolls and scores a 10, so the attack misses. Good job. With the Waterlower done and dusted, we move into Zeke's activation. We're going to give him 3 points of stamina, and we unexhaust all of his abilities. Now, before we go too far, we should note that 2 of the enemies on the board are currently within Zeke's extended range of influence. Of course, he has the wonderful Hemlock and Seer, which boosts his sphere of influence by 2, which means Waterlower number 1 and Earthlower number 1 both suffer 3 points of magic damage each. Now, we're currently sitting at 5 points of stamina, so I feel like we should take full advantage of what we've got going on right now. We're going to waste no time here, spending 3 points of stamina and casting Organic Liquefy against Earthlower number 1. We're going to roll our casting dice empowered, and also having a +1 because the lower is in water terrain. Total of 16 is going to be hard to beat. The Earthlower attempts to defend with 2 white dice. 6 and 6, that's 12. That is a great result for us, because not only does he fail, but he also suffers a ton of damage. This thing only has 5 points of life left. Now, we've still got 2 points of stamina left, so I'm thinking we'll use 1 just to make our Waterlower down here a slightly easier target for Rook. We're going to go ahead and cast Crumbling Time, exhausting that one. Again, rolling the orange and black dice because it's empowered. And a beautiful roll there. Grand total of 18 with all of our bonuses. I'm pretty sure this lower is going to be affected here. It's going to be rolling white and teal dice. No good. That means that this thing is inflicted by wilt, which means it's going to receive additional irreducible damage every time it's attacked. Finally, with 1 point of stamina left, Zeke is going to move. Because really, we don't want to be standing around when those Earthlower activate again. We get 7 points of movement, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Chasing that red loot. Now, of course, whenever you're moving in water, your movement is reduced severely, but with the Sea Witch fetish, we have heaps of maneuverability through here. I almost forgot to take into account the current physique. He's actually going to move on top of the red loot tokens. If only we had that last point of stamina to pick it up. All that done, Zeke's turn is over. We move into Rook's activation and he gains 3 points of stamina and we unexhaust all of his abilities. Now obviously Rook's got a target here, so we're going to move him corner to corner with the water lower, except we're going to move a little further down just so we don't have to deal with those earth lower up top. We spend his last 2 points of stamina to attack. We grab his 2 teal dice and roll. Doing pretty well. 11 gets us 2 points above the water lower. We might as well exhaust the Masterworks upgrade to make that 12. And then we're going to roll the black dice for some irreducible damage, and that's 4 extra irreducible damage. So a grand total of 7 damage dealt here. The lower's only got 2 life left. Do you reckon we can take it out? I think we can. Using Rook's Blade Works ability, we exhaust, gaining a second attack. 2 teal dice rolled again making the 11, which gives us the 2 points of damage we need. We'll roll the black dice just for kicks, but man, that is it, and Waterlower number 1 is defeated. Rook gains his combatant loot card, 10 gold, nice. Now, actually having dealt some damage, we may as well go ahead and exhaust the Ring of Blood to heal up 2 points. And that's just about it. All that's left is the current, moving Rook adjacent to that blue loot token. Awesome. Rook's activation is over and we move into Nightingale's. We're going to give her 3 points of stamina and she is chock-a-block. We begin by spending 1 point of Nightingale's stamina to get moving. This is going to give us 7 points of movement. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And with 3 more points of stamina, we're going to give her 6 extra points of movement. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It is tough running through the water. Good news is though, we are now adjacent to the red loot token underneath Zeke here, and we have 1 more point of stamina to play with. Let's pick the damn thing up. Red loot. Gain 1 random common unique item, and each party member gains 1 XP. In addition, the party gains 40 gold. Awesome! Alright, so we got some pretty decent cards here. As usual, I'm going to give them a shuffle up. We'll take the third one down. 1, 2, 3. Are you ready? Let's go. 1, 2, bam! What is this? The Orgone Blade. This is a fantastic looking sword, one-handed. If you do not have the heavy tag, this weapon gains 1 armor, cool. When you defeat an opponent, add 1 damage token as an ability token to this card. When dealing damage, these tokens may be spent to add +1 damage of the same type to your target. We can even exhaust this thing to counter, even if we're dealt damage. This is awesome. Alright, so let's get rid of that red loot token, and we're pretty much done here. The last thing I'm going to do is utilize one of her most unutilized abilities in my case. And that is Ambitious. This is a once per encounter ability that grants all my allies 1 additional stamina point, and Nightingale herself gains 2 as well. So it's a nice recovery from the sprint. That done, we move into the Earth Lower's activation, and hopefully I've managed to keep our team out of the way. We'll begin with Earth Lower number 1, 4 points of movement. Guys and gals, I've just realized that the Earth Lower might not have been able to move so close last turn, as the water terrain would have increased their movement point cost. Oof. Not to worry though, let's just get straight into it. We'll run their AI. Firstly, we check for allies without barriers. Everyone in range has a barrier, so not to worry there. And with no opponents adjacent, we check to see if they can move and attack. And it doesn't look like they can, so they're just going to move towards the nearest opponent. Earthlower number 1, he's going to move directly onto the dry land. Hopefully he's going to make his way down to smash Remy, we'll see. He's going to go 1, 2, and 3, 4 to get out of there. Earthlower 2, on the other hand, is going to head south. We're going to go 1, 2, and 3, 4. But that, guys and gals, is all they've got. With them done, we move into Remy's activation. We'll give her 3 points of stamina. We'll unexhaust all of her gear and abilities. And let's get into it. For starters, we're going to spend 2 points of stamina to fly, and I'm heading down to the blue loot token. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is all we need, and we can stand on top of it there. Now, I would love to pick it up, but I believe Remy can be more assistance utilizing one of her other abilities, one of her new abilities, the summoning ability. What we're going to do is we're going to flip this card and we are going to gain 2 summoning tokens, which we can use to bring a loyal Esper into reality. Now, this will be the first time that we see an Esper in play, so I'll explain a little bit about them as we go, but for the moment, all you need to know is that we are bringing Alifi into play. She is going to cost us both of our 2 summoning tokens, and on top of that, 2 points of stamina. I grab Alifi's figure and we can place her anywhere within Remy's sphere of influence. I'm thinking somewhere over here, and then we've got to bring her initiative card into play. It goes straight to the end of the initiative track. There we go. As you might surmise from the card, she's going to get an activation just like everybody else. So with Remy's activation done, we move into Alifi's activation, and she, of course, has stamina to utilize as well. But before we use her on the map, let's take a look at her character card. You'll see here there are a lot of similarities between both the adventurers and the monsters that we face. In the top right, we see that it is a command card, which means the players get to choose its actions. It's a loyal Esper, meaning it can be summoned by the spell that we cast. The cost is 2, which is the number of summoning tokens we have to spend to bring her onto the battlefield. And then she's also level 2. Our characters are able to summon Espers based on the highest level of assemblage ability they have. So in this case, our summoning ability is level 2. We can bring Alifi into the battlefield. Now, she's got a couple of passives like any monster you might come across. First one, bag full of organs. This is brilliant. When an ally within sphere of influence deals final damage greater than 0, they deal additional physical damage equal to the target's armor value. It's insane. She's also nimble, giving her a dodge with +2 defense. And then she's got a couple of abilities that she can spend her stamina on. The first one is just a basic attack, Scalpel. The second one is a magic armor ability, which grants an ally within sphere of influence the barrier effect. The third ability, Soul Clear, we can remove an effect from a figure within sphere of influence. And finally, she has an ability that costs 3 stamina, Invigorate. An ally within sphere of influence gains 2 stamina points. Now, when she attacks, she also gains some bonuses, +1 magic damage for every book rolled and +1 physical damage for every shield. She has 2 teal conviction dice, which means she's better than most of our characters. And then we've got her stats across here. She has 8 health, 10 defense, 6 movement, 0 armor, and when rolling for combat, she rolls a teal and orange dice. Now, just like any character on the board, Alifi is able to use any of the base actions, except for the re-equip one, because these guys don't actually equip anything, but we can move them and attack and do all that sort of stuff. For the moment, though, I'm thinking we're going to keep her in a support role just for the moment, and what I would really like to do is to protect our most vulnerable and most powerful warrior on the field, Rook. So I'm going to spend 2 points of Alifi's stamina to grant him magical armor and the barrier. Seriously, +1 armor never goes astray. We'll finish off her activation there, and Alifi will get dragged by the current of the water just a couple of spaces down, but that's it. We come to the end of the initiative track, back around to Zeke's activation. We're going to give him 3 points of stamina. We unexhaust all of his abilities. Now let's do some damage. To start with, we are going to move Zeke into a slightly better position. Let's get rid of 1 of his points of stamina, granting him 7 points of movement. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, just like that. In fact, we may have to move him back a notch there. My reasoning? Well, I want this Earth Law to be within his sphere of influence. And now that he is, we have such a good opportunity to do some damage. With our last 3 points of stamina, we begin incantations for our organic liquefy. Thanks to the upgrades on our Sea Witch Fetish and the Wand of the Deeps, we're going to be rolling an empowering dice with an orange dice, and we're going to get +2 to the roll result. 1 for the target being in the water, and 1 for Zeke himself being in the water. We roll, and not too well. We'll have a total of 9 with the numbers, +4 books, that gives us a 13, 14 and 15. thanks to our weapons. That's not so bad. The Earthlower rolls dual white dice for conviction and gets a 7, so it doesn't manage to resist. And so our organic liquefier deals 7 points of damage. Awesome. All right, that's the end of Zeke's activation. So he gets swept along the current. He gets moved 1 space, but can't move the second one, and as such receives 1 point of irreducible damage. Not bad for his first damage this entire scenario. All right, we move into Rook's activation. We're going to give him 3 points of stamina to play with. Let's get into it. All right, I think we need to get in there for the melee attack. So let's spend 1 point of his stamina to move. We've got 7 points of movement. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is all we need to come toe-to-toe with the Earthlower there. Beautiful. We're rolling 2 teal dice with this attack, but we're also going to exhaust the Captain's Hammer so that we can empower. We're going for big numbers here, and we do so damn well. So the Earthlower has 8 defense. We've rolled 14. Fantastic stuff. We're already 6 points up. Next, we take into account all the symbols that we've rolled, and this is where things get insane. Because Rook currently has 9 points of damage against him. He is sitting at exactly half health, meaning Blood Rage is active, and each of these symbols gains us +1 damage. So we go from 6, 9, 12, 16 points of damage. But of course we've got to remember that the Earthlower has armor, so it drops it down to 11. 11's still pretty good, and oh my goodness, Elifi is within sphere of influence, so that 5 damage comes straight back into play thanks to her bag full of organs. Guys and gals, that is 16 points of damage and more than we need to take out this Earthlower once and for all. What a great hit. For his troubles, Rook gains 8 gold to play with. Very nice. And well, I guess that's going to be it for him for the time being. Oh, except for the current, of course. He gets pushed back into the main swing of things and then pushed down even further. But I'm pretty sure he wants to go that way anyway. Rook's done. We move into Nightingale's activation. We're going to give her 3 points of stamina. We'll unexhaust the light. But now what do we do? I think she's a little too far away to get into any conflict with the other Earthlower. Alright, let's just move her. We'll spend, 3 points of stamina on movement? That's going to give her 11 points of movement. Now, honestly, she's going to need every single one of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's about as far as she can go. Honestly, she is terrible at moving in water in comparison to everyone else. But that's not so bad. She ends her activation there and then moves 1, 2 spaces down. Thank you, Current. With Nightingale's activation done, we move into the Earthlower's go. And I think he's going to have to get back into the water. Now, if we moved him into the water, we could get him to here kind of thing, because that's just how the movement works. But I guess if we kept him on dry land, he'd definitely be able to get closer to Rook than the other way. Let's do that. And we'll go 1, 2, 3, and 4. Unfortunately, though, he's not at range for an attack. Earthlower's done. We move into Remy's activation, and we're going to give her 3 points of stamina to play with. Hooray! Now, she is in a brilliant spot here because underneath her, we have the blue loot. So, guys and gals, let's go ahead and pick that up. We'll spend 1 point of stamina to do so. If you're standing in the water when you open this, read the hidden text for the blue objective. Otherwise, you've found Willem's lost gem. Hooray! Gain the lost gem token, and each adventurer gains 1 XP. How cool is that? Remy gets the gem, although I wonder what would have happened if we picked it up while we were still in the water. Let's leave the Remy's activation there. We don't need to do anything more for the time being. So we'll move into Elifi's activation. We give her 3 points of stamina. I'm thinking let's get her moving. Although I do want to keep her in the area so she can help take down the Earthlower. Look, what we might do, we'll spend 1 point of her stamina to move, and we're just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. Just so we don't drift anywhere too bad. And then I think we'll spend another 2 points of her stamina to grant another barrier. This time to Remy. Armor for everyone. Elifi's activation complete. We move back around to Zeke. 3 points of stamina for him. Unexhaust all of his abilities. Although I'm not exactly sure what he can do from where he is. I think it's going to be just best if we get him moving. So I'll spend 1 point of stamina to move. And we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. He's got 1 more point of movement, so let's move him back here for 7. Now this is going to be pretty interesting going forward here. For the moment though, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, the Earth Lower is within his extended sphere of influence, so we might spend 1 more point of stamina to, well, attack him. We're going to go crumbling time here, so we're going to exhaust this one, casting spell 6 against him. Thanks to our weapons, we're empowering, and we also gain +1 because Zeke is standing in the water. We roll, and it's not amazing. We gain a total of 4 from the dice out here, giving our spell a total of 10. The Earth Lower is going to try and resist, and with 12, it certainly does, so that is a shame. That's the end of his activation, and the current moves him down 1, 2. And now that he's on the edge of the waterfall, we have sight on both the blue totem and the green totem. So let's go ahead and resolve them now. Beginning with the green one. Something moves among the rocks below. If there's at least 1 Earth Lower on the board, read A. Well, there is, so we're going to read A. The rocks are tossed aside as a Gavaudan leaps from the debris. Spawn 1 Gavaudan on the space this totem occupied. There's 1. And then the blue totem up here. The pond stirs mysteriously. If there's at least 1 water lower on the board, read A, otherwise read B. We're going to read B. A couple of water lower have made this pond their home. Spawn 2 water lowers on the water spaces adjacent to this totem. Alright, so the battle rages on at the base of this waterfall. Oh man. We roll the dice for the Gavaudan, and it's going to go way up the end. 1, 2, 3, 4. After Remy, but before Alifi. And then the water lower, we roll again. 3 spaces on. 1, 2, 3. Just before the Gavaudan. Cool. That being the end of Zeke's turn, we move into Rook's activation. Again, 3 points of stamina, and we unexhaust. We begin by spending 1 point of stamina to move, and we're going to go straight up against the Earth Lower. Mano a mano. Now, instead of spending a stamina, we're going to go ahead and utilize our Blade Works ability, giving us a free attack so long as we have 2 one-handed weapons. And you know we do. As usual, we're going to empower the attack with the Captain's Hammer. And we're rolling 2 teal dice and a black dice. Look, we roll a 9. It's not an amazing roll, but it is enough to sneak us in there. We're 1 point above its defense, and we've got 5 shields. Again, thanks to Blood Rage, this pushes us up to 6 points of damage. And because we're dealing at least 1 final damage, and because Rook is still within sphere of influence of Alifi, we gain that bonus 5 damage because of the target's armor. Honestly, we are absolutely killing it with her on the board. Now, I realize I haven't moved Alifi down because of the currents, so she would actually be here and Rook wouldn't be in her sphere of influence, but we only needed 5 damage here. 6 is icing on the cake. Earth Lower number 1 is defeated. For his troubles, Rook gains a measly 5 gold. That's okay, we're here for the experience. And I guess that's it for him. Rook's activation is over and we move into Nightingale's. 3 points of stamina, we unexhaust. Let's get into it. Alright, Nightingale's in a pretty tough position over here, so we're going to have to spend a few points of stamina if we're going to get anything done. In fact, we're going to have to spend 3 points. This is going to give her 11 points of movement. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And from here, well, we're going to try and do some damage. Who knows, this might be her last opportunity. With our last 2 points of stamina, we're going to go down the masses. We exhaust this and we're going to make 2 different attacks against 2 separate enemies. The first is going to be against this Gavaudan here, and we're going to go ahead and exhaust our precise strike ability to empower this one. Here we're going to be rolling black, orange, and teal. Let's roll and whoa, we roll very nicely there. A 7, a 6, that gives us a 13 against the Gavaudan's defense of 11. Man, I forgot how tough they are. So we're up 2 points of damage. What about those symbols? Well, we've got +1 thanks to precise strike, and then one more for every shield. Look, that's a total of 9 damage. Not bad. Our next attack is going to be against water lower number 2 here. This is just standard stuff, so we're rolling teal and orange, and we get an 8 and a 3, which is pretty solid, but probably not solid enough to do much more. Let's go ahead and exhaust the forebode ability so that we can re-roll that teal dice, because I think we can do better than that. And you know we can. That becomes a 6. 14 against 9, that is 5 damage. 6 with precise strike. That is a solid hit. Finally, Nightingale is shifted down by the currents, 1 step away from getting sucked into the deep abyss. Remy's activation next. We're going to give her 3 points of stamina to play with, and we're going to have to fly her into enemy territory here. Now I'm thinking we need to get down and say good day to this Gavaudan, so we're going to spend 2 points of stamina, I think, to move here. Let's see how we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And we are face to face with the beast. But that's not all. We are now in line of sight of the red totem up in the distance. Let's check it out. A pack of cave sickles skitters about near the exit. Spawn 3 cave sickles adjacent to this totem. Then, if you activated this totem from elevation 4, read the section below. Alright, so it looks like we're just going the cave sickles here. Nothing too fancy. Hopefully we'll be able to manage with this last batch of enemies. We spawn the cave sickles, roll in the black dice, and they're going right at the end of the board. With our final enemy on the board, let's get into this. Remy is going to attack with her final 2 points of stamina. Thanks to his passive, the Gavaudan gets a dodge in. But no additional points of defense. 2 teal dice and a black dice. Big numbers, please. A 6, and a few symbols floating around. That's not so bad. The Gavaudan has 11 defense, so we're only actually up 1 point here. But we can bump that up to 3 with the symbols, and plus 1 more thanks to her masterwork. So 4 damage for 1 attack. It's alright, but this is a particularly impressive opponent. Oh, you know what? This guy is in hindering terrain too, so we actually have to reduce that down from 4 to 3. Alright, Remy's activation over, we're into the Waterlower's turn. Beginning with number 1 up here, you'll find that it has a target for a spell within Sphere of Influence. Beginning with Waterlower number 1 up here, we run through its AI. Is there a figure within Sphere of Influence with an effect? Yes, there is actually. Remy. And so the Waterlower removes our barrier. Damn. Next we check for adjacent opponents. Nothing there. So we move on to see if there's an opponent within Sphere of Influence. And yes, there is. It's going to either be Remy or it's going to be Nightingale. And because it wants to target the opponent with the lowest conviction dice, they've both got the same dice. So it's going to be Nightingale here, guys and gals. No good. The Waterlower casts with the white dice. A 6 added to a 6 is 12. This could be bad. Nightingale attempts to resist. We get an 8, which means for 6 damage. Nightingale cannot handle it. She's already received 10, so that, guys and gals, is it for her. We have our first casualty for the encounter. Next up, we have Waterlower number 2, this time targeting Remy. Cast the spell, a 6 and a 4. The 4 gives us a 10. Can Remy resist? I hope so. No good at all. 2 3s. We do get a book which bumps it up to 7, but that still means 5 points of damage. Next, Waterlower 2 has a shot against Remy, rolling the white dice. 6 plus a 2 is 8. That's not so bad for us. We're going to roll purple and white. And we do just fine, hitting 11, meaning we resist the attack. The Waterlowers are done, so we're into the Gavaudan's activation. We'll begin with the usual dance moves. We're going to exhaust the Hoodie of Deflection to dodge. We roll the black dice, bumping our defense up by 1. The Gavaudan's attacking with teal dice. And guys and gals, I think we make it because the fact that we didn't roll a skull means we get plus 1 defense. Our 10 became an 11. That's a 10. We are safe. we unexhaust the hoodie and we get our counter attack. Hopefully rolling big numbers here. I'll roll the floor one again. We get a 5. That's an 11 there. We need 12 to get into the hindering terrain. So we're going to have to exhaust our masterwork. We make the hit, but we've only got 2 shields to count for damage there. So just 2 points. Slowly but surely edging the Gavaudan down. The Gavaudan now continues his attack. He's now going to move to be at reach 2 from the farthest opponent. In this case, it's still going to be Remy, but this movement is going to encourage a break attack. So Remy's going to first attack 2 teal dice and the black dice. We don't do too well there, but that's okay. It was a free attack. The Gavaudan is then going to move and attack again. Now Remy's dodging, of course, gaining 4 additional points of defense, up to 13. The Gavaudan attacks, only making an 11. Remy, she gets a chance for another counter attack. We unexhaust the hoodie of deflection. We exhaust the oversized club to get our reach 2, and then we roll again. Big numbers this time, guys and gals, big numbers. We start with our 15 against 11 defense, 4 points of damage. We've got 4 shields for another 4 more. That's 8. Awesome stuff. 1 more damage and it's dead. All right, with that out of the way, the Gavaudan is finished. On to Alifi's activation. Now, she's pretty far away from the action, but we'll see what we can do here. I think we're going to have to use all 4 of her stamina. Let's see how we go. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I don't think we should end it there. That might be a better spot for us. And at the end of her activation, she gets pushed 1 and 2 down into the basin of the waterfall. Alifi's done and we move into the Cave Sickle's activation. Now number 1's too far away to do anything, but number 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, is going to be able to set up in between the 2 water lower, and it can either take a shot at Alifi or Remy. It's going to go for the nearest opponent, so it looks like it's going to be Remy here. Now, unfortunately for the Cave Sickle, he doesn't have any upgraded dice. Does Remy want to dodge? Yeah, I think she does. We go from 9 defense up to 13 again. Awesome. There's no chance this is going to work. A 7 and a 3. Nah. We successfully dodge and unexhaust our hoodie. This thing is a godsend. What about Cave Sickle 3 at the top? No, I don't think he can get into range either. All right, that's it for them. And we move back around into Zeke's activation. Awesome. We get him 3 points of stamina. Let's get Zeke moving. We'll spend 1 point of his stamina and we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 to be adjacent to the Gavaudan there. But in doing so, he makes a tremendous move, bringing all of the enemies around him into his aura of hate. 3 damage against the Gavaudan, the 2 water lowers, and the Cave Sickle. And with that, the Gavaudan is dead. Zeke grabs some monster loot. Nice. Here we have the opportunity to gain one of the Gavaudan monster loot. Here I'm going to roll the dice. If I roll a 1, 2, or 3, I'm going to take the green one. If I roll higher, I'm going to grab the other one. So 5, we grab the Gavaudan weapon, the bladed tail. That's pretty interesting. Look, I'm not going to lie, but Zeke's still got 3 points of stamina to play with. So I think, guys and gals, it's time for another organic liquefy. Let's go up against water lower number 2. We're casting empowered, and we may well need it. We gain a total of 3 here, 1 for the book, 2 more there. Our spell's total value is 9. The water lower tries to resist and does so exceedingly well. 10 there. Ah, well, you win some, you lose some. On to Rook's activation. 3 points of stamina to him. Well, he's already got 3, so we'll bring him up to the maximum of 5. We really need to get him into the battle, so let's get moving. Spend 1 point and we're on our way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's go ahead and spend the rest. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 2 points of stamina, 2 to go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh boy, what a run. All right, Rook's activation done. We're into Remy's. Let's get her 3 points of stamina. Not much to do here except attack. We'll spend 1 point of stamina to move. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and maybe just 6, 7 to get out of the water. Here, we're going to target water lower number 1. We're rolling dual teal dice and the black dice here, and that's pretty dang good. We get a 5 and a 7. I think we can do better with that 5, so let's go ahead and make a re-roll on that one. Turning a 5 into a 3. Oh no. Let's go ahead and make one more re-roll on that one with Hammer Helm. We exhaust that. Come on. That's better. All the way up to a 15, and we need every single bit of that. 9 defense gives us 6 points of damage, and we get a 7th thanks to Hammer Helm, and an 8th thanks to our Masterworks upgrade. 1 more point, and this guy is dead. So close. What we will do though is we'll heal up a little bit with the Ring of Blood. We'll exhaust that. Remy's got some life back in her, and we move on to those damn water lowers. We begin with water lower number 1, who immediately discards Rook's barrier. Damn it. Next we check if it has 2 or more adjacent opponents. No, it does not. So it's going to target the adventurer with the lowest conviction dice, and I believe this one is Remy. Water lower number 1 casts a spell against her. 6 plus 3 to give 9. We need to roll a 9 or more here. And that's a 4. That is really bad. So 5, 6, 7 points of damage against her there. I think she's only got 1 hit point left. She's got 11 damage now. I think it's only 1 left for her. Oh boy. All right. Water lower number 2, exactly the same deal. This time she needs to beat a 10. Come on, come on, come on. 8, no good. That means another 4 points of damage, and Remy is out of there. We take her off the map, but we're leaving behind, of course, our prize gem. Hopefully this is all worth it. We would move into the Gavaldon's activation, but this thing was taken out by Zeke a little earlier, so we're up to Alifi, who gains 3 points of stamina. Very nice. So I'd love to be able to move Alifi, but I'm pretty sure as soon as Remy died, Alifi went with her, so we won't be activating her here. Damn. So we move into the Cave Sickle's activation. All right, looks like Cave Sickle 1 can get into the action this time, so it's going to move right on down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 to get there. Target is going to be Rook, and I'm pretty sure he's going to want to dodge this one. So let's go ahead and exhaust his defense core, and we roll. He goes up to 11 defense. The Cave Sickle rolls with slightly upgraded dice and rolls a 10, actually failing to make the hit, not to mention the additional difficulty of shooting through the water lower. What about Cave Sickle number 2? Well, it turns out this thing last turn should have been swept towards this, the dangerous terrain there, so he's not in a great spot. First up, he's going to make a ranged attack. This time he's going to be targeting Zeke because he's at the front of the initiative track. Zeke, of course, is going to dodge with his occult shirt. We roll, and an extra 3 points up to 12. The Cave Sickle rolls for its attack and rolls a 12 as well. So the attack hits, and he does 2 extra damage thanks to those shields. Next, the Cave Sickle continues, moving towards the target with the most damage. This, of course, is going to be Rook over here, so we're going to go 1, 2. Let's make some good use of Rook's Hoodie of Deflection, and we're going to dodge. We roll the dice. 2 extra points up to 11, and 12 thanks to the passive. Cave Sickle attacks, only rolls an 8, is not able to get through Rook's defenses, so that beautiful thing happens. We unexhaust the Hoodie of Deflection, and we get to attack ourselves. Rook lets rip with 2 teal dice, and we roll a 15, which is more than enough to take this sucker out. 1 down, just a handful to go. Let's take a look at Cave Sickle number 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it looks like it can get into position to do some attacking here, so let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 there. Brilliant. He's got range on Rook, so he's going to attack Rook. Rook, of course, is going to dodge. We roll, scoring a 10 up to an 11. Thank you, passive. And the Cave Sickle rolls. and makes the 11, but the roll gets -1 thanks to the difficulty of the shot, and the attack fails. We unexhaust the hoodie, and Rook is ready to dodge again. Now, it is definitely worth mentioning a couple of things right about now. All of the cave sickles here are now within Zeke's sphere of influence, which means each and every one of them gets 3 damage. And what's worse, now they're affected by the current. Cave sickle 1 is pushed down this way towards the water lower but can't go anywhere, so suffers 2 points of damage. Same for cave sickle number 3. These guys have essentially just got 1 hit point left apiece. With the cave sickle activation over, we continue with Zeke's activation, giving him 3 points of stamina. Alright Zeke, let's get into it. I really want to use that organic liquefy, but I know it's not going to be the right time to do it. We're going to spend 1 point of stamina to move. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're going to be adjacent to all the enemies here, and then with our last 2 points of stamina, I'm going to make an attack against water lower number 1 with only 1 health left. We're rolling 2 orange dice with a +1, 7 and a 6. We roll the 13 against the water lower's 9 defense. That is going to be all we need to take it out. And thank goodness. Zeke's activation is over. We move into Rook's, and he's going to do pretty much the same thing. First, we're going to move to be adjacent to all the enemies, and then we're going to attack water lower number 2. Rolling 2 teal dice. We do pretty well with a total of 11. That's 2 points of damage. And then we have 1 more free attack with our Blade Works ability. Same dice, hoping to roll really big. A 7 and a 4. Not too great, but still another 2 points. Rook's done, and the water lower gets to activate. Now that he's got 2 opponents adjacent, the water lower is going to make an attack against the opponent with the highest damage, and that's going to be Rook, who of course is going to dodge this one with his hoodie of deflection. We're rolling, hoping for big numbers. Alright, we get a 10 + 1 for 11, and the lower is rolling purple dice here. A 6 and a 2 is not enough to make the attack, so Rook gets his counter. We unexhaust the hoodie of deflection here, and we get an attack. Again, 2 teal dice, and not a great roll, I'm sorry to say. Luckily though, that's it for them. Cave sickles 1 through 3 get to activate. Cave sickle number 1 starting off his attack against Rook. We of course dodge with the hoodie, going from 9, going from 10 thanks to his shield, up to 11 thanks to the die roll +1 for 12. The cave sickle rolls and only gets the 11. We unexhaust. Let's take this sucker out. We're rolling 2 teal dice. We roll a 5 and a 5 against the sickle's defense of 8. That is 2 damage and enough to take him out, even without counting those shields. Cave sickle number 3 does the exact same thing. Targeting Rook, he's going to dodge. This hoodie is by far the best thing in the world. We roll the black dice and we get full marks. I don't even think these dice can roll 15. We'll try anyway. It's a no good, so Rook gets his revenge, and he makes the hit, but no damage, unless of course we throw our Masterworks upgrade into play, and the sickles are defeated. That's the entire swarm done, so we gain another 10 gold to play with. Guys and gals, I can feel it. Cave sickles are dead. We're into Zeke's activation, but I forgot a crucial element of the water lower's activation. It's going to actually try and move as far away from our adventurers as possible. So with 6, it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, just like that. Good news for us though, this shouldn't affect things too much. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Zeke still has this thing in its sphere of influence, so we're going to spend all 3 points of the stamina on an organic liquefy. We don't exhaust this one, but we are going to be rolling. Here we go. Pretty decent roll. We get a total of 8 there, plus the spell's value of 6. We're on 14. The lower rolls its defense, and with a measly 8, it totally gets affected with 8 points of damage. And guys and gals, that's enough to take it out. Far out, we did it. For his trouble, Zeke gets another 7 gold, and we move into Rook's activation. 3 stamina, We'll spend 1 to pick up Willem's lost gem, and then let's get the hell out of here. We spend 1 point of stamina to move, 7 points of movement. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Guys and gals, we have 1 more point of stamina to use for the sprint. We end our turn on the exit. Guys and gals, that is it. Wow, that was a lot tougher than I expected with those enemies. The water lower absolutely crushed me every single time. The reward is simple. Restore our adventurers. How cool is that? We're going to go to Lost Loot Conclusion. And here we go. A job well done. Gain 50 gold. Worth it. And there we have it, guys and gals. Rank 2, done and dusted. We've returned the lost stone and we got our 50 gold. You know what? I know this is the crawl stuff, but I was kind of hoping for a bit more of a debrief. I don't know. But I guess the crawl is out there so that players can play and just have an all-out dungeon crawl adventure kind of thing. And that's fantastic. The narrative, the story-driven stuff, that is adventure mode, and that thing is damn epic. Now I'm going to take a little bit of a break from the crawl side of things. As fun as it is, I'm missing that narrative and I'm going to get back to playing adventure mode, and honestly that thing is... I don't know if I could film that one up for you. There is a lot of reading, and I don't know if you'd be on board listening to me narrate this story that, you know, you could be playing yourselves once you get the game. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know. Otherwise, I'll find something else to do, I'm sure. Anyway, this campaign as a whole was a blast. I really enjoyed the new enemies, the Gavaudan, the Merkhounds. They were really tough. I'm so glad we didn't come up against any more of them. And even those Earthlower, bringing it home. Absolutely hulking monstrosities they are, far out. And that's a great thing about the crawl stuff, is because they really do introduce you to these new monsters and new gameplay mechanics as the crawl goes through. It's been really a wonderful way to learn the game and to show you guys, you know, what Middara is all about. So yeah, I've had a blast. If you've enjoyed it, make sure you're liking the videos, commenting, subscribing. Tell me what you guys want to see and help this channel grow, all that sort of stuff. But for the moment, guys and gals, that is going to be about it. So, as always, my name's Michael, this is Bits Aboard. We'll catch you next time.